Look at your own hands. Look at your skin. Who do you think you are? The crown of creation? The ruler of the planet? We love to think of ourselves that way. But the ground you are walking on right now is the most horrifying mass graveyard in the history of the universe. History books tell us about human wars and the fall of empires, but they stay absolutely silent about the greatest, most ruthless serial killer of them all. That killer is our own planet. Imagine this. 99% of all living creatures that have ever existed on Earth are now dead. Where are they? How did they vanish without a trace? Today, we are putting the entire planet on the History Autopsy table. We are going to examine 5 global apocalypses so terrifying that human comprehension fails to grasp them. These events were so devastating that if just one of them repeated today, there wouldn't be a single human left to remember our history. Catch your breath. We are going back 444 million years. Murder 1. The Ice and Poison Trap. The time is 444 million years ago, the Ordovician period. If you stepped onto dry land back then, you would feel like you were standing on Mars. Not a single tree, not a blade of grass, not a single animal. The land was made of dead, silent rock. But the oceans were paradise. Life was boiling beneath the surface. 10-meter giant mollusks, armored trilobites, and bizarre creatures human eyes have never seen lived safely in the warm, shallow waters. They thought this paradise would last forever, just like we do today. But the killer was approaching slowly and silently. A massive supercontinent named Gondwana slowly drifted over the planet's south pole. At first, no one noticed a thing. The air just got a little colder, but then it began to snow. It snowed, and it never melted. Years passed, centuries passed. The snow turned into massive glaciers, miles thick. These glaciers began to suck all the water out of the oceans. Sea levels dropped by hundreds of feet. Millions of creatures that were swimming in warm water yesterday were suddenly left thrashing in the open air on dry land. They suffocated and roasted to death under the sun. But that was only the beginning. When the few cold-adapted survivors finally caught their breath, the planet delivered its second blow. Temperatures suddenly skyrocketed. The ice melted, and the oceans turned into toxic, boiling cauldrons with zero oxygen. 85% of all living things on the planet were boiled alive in their own homes. The planet had tasted blood for the first time. Murder 2. The Tragedy of the Forests. 360 million years ago, the late Devonian period. The planet had healed its wounds, and now it was time for life to conquer the land. Finally, the first true forests and trees began to appear on Earth. What a beautiful scene, right? The awakening of nature. But the truth I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you think you know about nature. The second largest mass extinction in history, a slaughter that wiped out 75% of all species, was not caused by a meteor or a volcano. It was committed by those beautiful trees and plants you just pictured. How? The forests spread across the land at a wild pace. Their massive, powerful roots shattered the underground rocks and broke down the soil. Heavy rains washed trillions of tons of these nutrients into the rivers, pouring them into the oceans like poison.
These nutrients caused an explosive, unnatural bloom of toxic, microscopic algae underwater. The algae multiplied so fast that they sucked absolutely all the oxygen out of the water. The oceans literally became dead zones. The 10-meter armored fish and terrifying predators that ruled the deep simply began to suffocate and die right where they swam, without anyone ever attacking them. While the forests thrived on land, their roots turned the oceans into a mass grave. Life had murdered life. Murder 3. Hell on Earth. We have reached the most horrifying moment in our planet's history. 250 million years ago, the Permian period. If civilizations had existed back then, this is exactly where they would have been erased forever. Scientists don't just call this an extinction. They call it the Great Dying. The exact moment the planet came within a single inch of total sterilization, of becoming an absolute dead rock. At that time, the Earth was crawling with bizarre and terrifying monsters, the distant ancestors of modern mammals. They felt completely safe, but the planet was tired of them. In the region we now call Siberia, the Earth's crust literally ripped open. Not just one volcano, no. A massive fissure the size of a continent began to spew continuous lava for 1 million years. Can you imagine that? A gigantic bonfire burning non-stop for 1 million years. Trillions of tons of carbon dioxide and methane gas slammed into the atmosphere. The planet's temperature rose so high that the oceans literally reached a boiling point. Instead of water, pure acid rained from the sky. This acid melted the skin and bones of animals while they were still alive. Breathable air vanished, replaced by hydrogen sulfide, a highly toxic gas that smells like rotting eggs. 96% of all marine life and 70% of all land species vanished in screams, pain, and unbearable terror. You and I, the cat in your house, the bird in the street, every single living creature we see today is a direct descendant of the tiny 4% of creatures that miraculously survived that hell. Our DNA was forged in that absolute inferno. Murder 4. The False Dawn. It took millions of years for the planet to recover from the Great Dying. 200 million years ago, the Triassic period. In the single supercontinent of Pangaea, new giants built their thrones, massive crocodile-like predators. But planet Earth hates stability. The continent of Pangaea cracked and began to split in two. As the land masses violently tore apart, massive volcanic fissures opened once again. Temperatures skyrocketed back to hellish levels. The oceans once again turned into toxic swamps, wiping out 75% of all species. But in this terrifying night, a strange event occurred. While the massive, bloodthirsty, and heavy predators were starving and roasting to death, a small group of creatures survived. They were hiding in the dark forests, running on 2 legs, eating whatever they could find, and highly resistant to the heat. The planet was empty, and these tiny refugees became the new masters of this vast, unrivaled world. Their name was the Dinosaurs, and they were destined to rule this planet flawlessly for the next 135 million years. Murder 5. The Cosmic Executioner. 66 million years ago. It could have been just an ordinary Tuesday morning. Dinosaurs, over 10,000 species. Titans as tall as 5-story buildings, living death machines like the T-Rex. They were at the absolute peak of evolution. No force on Earth could defeat them. But the death coming from the sky did not care. A small, bright star appeared in the sky over the Gulf of Mexico. Not a single living creature, not a single T-Rex looking up at it, could have ever imagined that in 5 minutes, their entire 160 million-year empire would turn to ash. The light accelerated.
A cosmic rock the size of Mount Everest slammed into the planet. Feel these numbers. The impact was equal to billions of Hiroshima atomic bombs exploding all at exactly the same time. All the dinosaurs within 1,000 miles of the impact zone didn't just burn. They vaporized instantly, bones and blood dissolving into the air in a fraction of a second. A wall of water 1.5 miles high, a mega tsunami, crushed the coastlines. An 11-magnitude earthquake shattered the Earth's crust. But the absolute worst part happened 1 hour later. Trillions of tons of dust and debris blasted into space, hit the freezing vacuum, and fell back to Earth like millions of 1,000-degree fireballs. Every forest on the planet caught fire at the exact same time. The sky was sealed with a black lid. Sunlight disappeared for 10 years. The dinosaurs that survived the initial heat died of freezing cold, starvation, and thirst, collapsing on top of the rotting corpses of their own kind. The planet was wiped clean for the 5th time.
The 6th extinction. That is how history works. Our planet periodically shakes the living creatures off its face like dust. Today we consider ourselves smart, technological, and invincible, just like the dinosaurs did 66 million years ago. But today, scientists are stating a terrifying fact. We are currently losing species at a faster rate than at any other period in history. Glaciers are melting, oceans are suffocating, forests are burning. The planet has entered the 6th mass extinction. Only this time, the killer did not come from space. This time, the killer did not burst from underground. If you want to see the killer of the 6th extinction, just look in the mirror. This was History Autopsy. Do not forget to lock your doors before you go to sleep. History always loves to repeat itself.